Hey guys, this is your host, Franziska Weinheimer, and welcome back to the Hikers Anonymous podcast. On this podcast, I help share people's inspirational stories about how hiking, backpacking, and the outdoors changed their lives. If you have an inspirational story about how the outdoors positively impacted your life, please send a short synopsis to hikeoregon@hikeoregon.net and put in the subject line podcast guest. Today, I'm talking with Mitchel, whom I actually had the pleasure of meeting in person in 2022 when I was doing my book release tour around the state of Oregon. He now lives in Utah, so unfortunately we didn't get to record in person, but he has such a wonderful outlook on nature and what it provides us. It was such a pleasure to get to talk with him over Zoom. To hear more about Mitchel's story, keep listening. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, Mitch. I would love to hear your story and what is your history with the outdoors? Did you enjoy the outdoors as a kid?
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this and I've loved listening to all the other episodes and stories that people have shared. So I'm excited to be here and to share mine. Yeah, so I started in the outdoors. Like I grew up in the Northwest, Portland, Seattle area. Probably first kind of started to get into outdoors when I was maybe 12 or 13. I started with the Boy Scouts and we do quite a bit of hiking, camping, backpacking, things like that. And it was always a fun and good time to kind of go out on a Friday or Saturday night with a bunch of my friends and hang out in the woods and kind of learn how to survive, if you will, learn how to camp, learn how to hike, the gear that we needed, what worked, what didn't work. And it was also a good kind of escape from just life in general of school and homework and things at the time. We could kind of just go out in the woods somewhere and spend the night or even just a few hours for a hike and kind of get recharged and enjoy the solitude and the time in the outdoors.
Amazing. What was one of your favorite excursions with the Boy Scouts?
I think I was maybe 16 or 17, a hike up around the Olympic Peninsula. I think we did about 50 miles from like Ozette Lake, Cape Lava up to Shai Shai Beach and back. And that was just amazing. I mean, that whole Olympic Peninsula has huge and beautiful rainforest out there, and then you'd be in the trees. You'd come out and hike on the sandy, rocky beaches for a while, then back up into the trees. And yeah, that was one of my first real, I think, backpacking experience. I think it was 4 or 5 days and carrying all of our food, filtering water, all that, and kind of just fell in love with it at that point.
That's so cool. Do they have a lot of bears up there?
I'm not sure about bears. We always would keep our food in like those 5 gallon white buckets and hang them at night.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Mostly just keep them out of our tent so little chipmunks or rats or mice wouldn't come tearing through and ruin everything. But yeah, it was a fun trip.
Sounds amazing. What kind of happened in your life that may have led you away from the outdoors?
Mostly just life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always still had that drive to kind of get out and hike and do some camping, but with yeah, later in high school, school, work, and then into college as well. Just other things had my priority, but I always get out when I could. And if I was traveling somewhere and there was a hike nearby, I'd try and do that, or being back home in Portland or Seattle getting out when I could to do some hikes and stuff, but I wasn't as regular as I like to be at that point, kind of getting out and enjoying things. If it was every couple months doing a hike for a mile or so, that was pretty good.
And what in your life kind of occurred that brought you back to like really going for hikes all the time and backpacking?
So I was living in Arizona and just kind of that change from going from the Northwest to Arizona was just a change.
Mm-hmm.
The scenery is completely different. It's desert, it's dry, it's hot, but it was a different kind of beauty down there. The desert, the cactus, and everything. I mean, there's areas where you can find the pine trees and everything, but so just getting out and exploring a little bit that way, just seeing what that new area had to offer. And then I started working from home in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was at home quite a bit, not really getting out to do much. So I was just kind of on YouTube and Instagram and finding all these hiking, backpacking videos and people's channels, which kind of just kind of re-sparked that feeling inside me. I need to kind of get out in the outdoors more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and watching all these videos of people talking about the new gear and the new shoes and backpacks and tents and how things had changed since I was 14 or 15. I mean, I still had the same North Face sleeping bag I got when I was probably 13.
You probably weighed like 6 pounds.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a nice, I mean, it was still in good shape, but yeah, huge. And now these sleeping bags are there and they're a couple pounds or pound and tenths or even less and
Mm-hmm.
less weight. And then so I just kind of started get out and do some more hikes and try and get out as often as I could. With working from home, I had some lunch breaks where I could go and do a quick little hike, or even in the evenings, it was nice to get out when it was a little cooler. But the outdoors and hiking kind of became a little bit of an escape, just with being at home so much. And there are things in my personal life where I was dealing with, and if I could get out for an hour or even a quick overnight backpacking trip, get out in the desert, get some solitude, be able to kind of clear my head, recharge, think, be alone with my thoughts was always a great time when I could get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Right. When did you move back to the Pacific Northwest from Arizona?
I moved back beginning of 2021, I
Oh,
think
okay.
February or March.
Okay.
And that was great. I loved being back up there. There's so much to do within an hour and a half, 2 hours of that Portland area. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
the coast is an hour and a half. Mount Hood is about an hour and a half up there. Um, even just the Columbia Gorge. I mean, that was 30 minutes from where I was in Vancouver, and there's just hundreds of hikes and things to do in there. You can do a quick little 0.3 mile hike to a beautiful waterfall, or you can do a 8 mile round trip hike to a gorgeous waterfall.
Right,
So
right.
there's so much to choose from up there.
Yeah, definitely. It says in your email that I read, I don't know if you are wanting to talk about this, but you had mentioned that you went through a divorce. How did hiking kind of help you through that hard situation?
Yeah, so we went through my divorce. That's when I kind of moved back up to the Northwest to Washington. It was a pretty, I don't want to say it was an easy process,
Mm-hmm.
but me and my ex were still pretty civil. We have a daughter, so that makes it easy. I mean, we still were able to talk and communicate,
That's good.
which is good. But just going through that, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life
Mm-hmm.
going forward, the person I wanted to be. There were times when I'd be at home and would just kind of feel alone or lost. That's kind of when I would choose to go be out in the woods and or in the wilderness and be even more alone, just to kind of feel like I was able to kind of have some clarity. Yeah, just think through things, even talk to myself out loud of things that I wanted to do or things I was going through, have little conversations. Sounds a little crazy, but it was always nice. I mean, I'd be hiking on a trail and wouldn't see anyone around for 2 or 3 miles and just be able to kind of talk out loud, talk through things
Mm-hmm.
that I was going through.
Yeah.
And it kind of helped change my perspective of hiking. It kind of started out as it was getting to a destination. And I would look and say, okay, this is the hike I want to do. This is the waterfall. It looks great. Now, how long does it take me to get there? How long is it going to take me to get back? And I would kind of get on the trail and hike, get to the waterfall, enjoy it for a little bit, take some pictures and videos, and then hike back, which was great. But it kind of became more of a enjoy the journey where I
Mm-hmm.
would I would hike and the destination wasn't as important as maybe stopping at that little wooden log bridge that goes across the creek just 100 yards from the parking lot and stopping there for 10 minutes and just enjoying that little spot. And
Right.
thinking through things, and then hiking another half mile, and there might be a small little waterfall coming down the side, and stopping there and enjoying that little spot.
Yeah.
And just have had some great thoughts and things come to me just being on the trail, not at the destination, at the gorgeous view, just at little spots along the way.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's funny because that's one of my questions is how has your hiking journey changed from the beginning? And that I feel like a lot of people have that same sort of journey within their hiking journey. I find that people who have been hiking for multiple years have that same sort of progression where at first it was like, gotta go to the destination, get that view to the waterfall,
Right.
summit that mountain, and that's what's important. But then as you go through the years of hiking, it's more about the journey, what you see along the trail, maybe who you're with. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I'll see people's videos or posts, and they'll post pictures of a view or a tree or some flowers, and I was like, I just did that hike and I didn't see those things. Like, what?
Right.
How did I miss that? And then I just need to. I was like, oh, I was making sure I was trying to get there in 40 minutes and back to the car, and just getting out to do the hike, which is great as it is. I mean, getting out is better than not, but yeah, just having that realization of slow down. If I don't make it to the end, if I want to turn back,
Mhm.
and enjoying the little things along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Does your daughter hike with you?
She does. I try and get her out when I can, which has always been some of the fun times we've had of just me and her going out or taking the dog with us. And she got to help the same way where I would want to kind of do maybe a 2 or 3 mile loop, and we get out. Maybe we only have a few hours, but we get out and she stop and take pictures of little things and pick up some rocks and want to sit and play somewhere. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll just sit and chat and enjoy the time being out here, whether we get it to the end or not.
Right, right. I love that change in perspective. That's really cool. What are some lessons that you've learned through being in the outdoors and hiking and backpacking?
Especially backpacking is learn to change and adapt to the situations. I mean, you can have the perfect trip planned out where you know where you're going to be, what you're going to do, where you're going to stop, what you want to see, and then something changes, you want to go a different route, the weather doesn't quite cooperate, and you need to change on the fly, and maybe it gets cut short, maybe get stuck somewhere a little longer. But when I was kind of start planning my first few solo backpacking trips, that would always stress me out the most is knowing where I was going to stop, where I was going to camp for the night, and if that spot wasn't available, or if I didn't make it that far, having a plan B, even a plan C and D
Hmm. Yep.
sometimes. I mean, there was plenty of trips I would go up the gorge where I would have a certain spot picked out I wanted to stop at, and I would get there and I'd be like, well, I feel pretty good. I want to keep going. So I keep going and change, or I would get everything set up. It would start to pour down rain and everything would be soaking wet. So I would just, well, I can sit here and kind of endure and tough it out through the night, or I can just pack up at 8 o'clock and hike back to the car and sleep in my warm bed and have a nice shower that night.
Yep, yep.
Not looking at that as a failed trip at all. Just seeing
Right.
as yeah, plans change. I made a good decision and went back and had a nice meal and a hot shower and still had a successful trip.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
love it. So you recently moved to Utah. So I guess I want to know, like, what are currently some of your favorite things about being in the outdoors and especially over there in Utah?
Yeah. So I'm down here in St. George in southern Utah, and kind of like the shock from the Northwest Arizona, it's it's different.
Right.
Not quite as many trees. It can get pretty hot, but
And
it's
windy too, right?
yeah, yeah. And again, it's its own kind of beauty. I mean, you got the red rocks all around. I'm about an hour from Zion, which is amazing. Been out there a few times. Snow Canyon, which is about 30 minutes away, which is pretty small, but there's so many hikes and so many things to do there. A lot of, yeah, just outdoor stuff, mountain biking, kayaking, a lot of, it's kind of a outdoor mecca down here. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
You can do off-roading in the dunes with side by sides. I try and take my Jeep out there as much as I can. I'm kind of a wimp with it and just keep it on the flat ground, but being able to get out in the desert a little bit and enjoy that. So I am trying to get out to Bryce Canyon soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of on my next bucket list item is to get out there for a couple days and just enjoy that out there. So it's been great being down here. I mean, it is a change from the Northwest, but I wouldn't change it for anything. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. You need a lot more permits and stuff to do hiking and backpacking there?
There are some permits for, I think for Zion. A lot of those, some of those hikes are starting to have permits, or you need to have reservations to do some of those, which is great. I kind of try and stay away from those sometimes. Just
Mm-hmm.
it's it's crowded, and I mean they're crowded for a reason. I mean, there's gorgeous hikes, gorgeous place to see, Angel's Landing. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't done that yet. I don't know if my nerves will let me get up that high from the pictures and videos I've seen, but I'll probably have to give that a shot sometimes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did. I got my national park pass, so that gets me into Zion and Bryce whenever. So
Oh,
that's always
nice.
good. And it does take a little bit of research to kind of figure out when you want to go, what you want to do, but nothing more than anywhere else that you need to
Yeah.
permit or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you do some like winter hiking? I know that in the lower elevations it doesn't really snow that much over there, so you can get out in the winter time too.
Yeah, we got a little bit of snow here. It would snow just during the day, some flurries and stuff, but um, out my window here, I can see the Pine Valley Mountains, and that's maybe yeah another 40 minutes, an hour out there. And um, I didn't do any camping, winter camping. I went up there
Hmm.
a few times, did some snowshoeing, kind of hung out for the day. I haven't got up my nerve to do a winter camp yet.
I mean, it's cold. It's very
Yeah,
cold.
yeah. But I mean, with the right gear, and if you kind of plan to be up there and get the right shelter and sleeping pad and sleeping bag and get a fire going if you can. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be good. So I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't got up my nerve yet. So
Yeah.
hopefully next year that'll be on my list.
Excellent. Do you ski at all?
No, I don't ski. I don't snowboard. I mean, I skied a little bit when I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8, but haven't really been since. I know my sisters ski quite a bit, and I have some nieces and nephews who have been skiing since they could walk, so they could probably teach me a thing or two about that.
Right. That's awesome. Are there some things in Utah that you would like to do in the outdoors that you haven't done here per se? Like some new outdoor activities?
I really want to try rock climbing. I've done
Ah,
it. I've done it a few times, mostly indoors,
mm-hmm.
not a whole lot. In college, once we went outdoors and did some rock climbing. But I think down here, there's so many places you can go, and I think that might be my kind of summer activity if I can find some people to show me around a little bit. So that would be get into a little bit of rock climbing. I think would be
Nice.
great.
That sounds amazing. So what is a message that you would like to share with the listeners? Could be like anything like an inspirational quote that has helped you, or a specific place they should visit, or a tip on getting started in the outdoors. Could be anything.
I guess my advice would be if you're thinking about getting outdoors or you want to do more or do an activity, just go do it. Try it, do it. Don't wait until you think you know everything about it. You don't need to have the best gear, which kind of held me back at first whenever I'd want to try and do something. I would yeah, watch YouTube videos and research and try and find the best things and the best gear and made sure I had all the right stuff and knew everything. But you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. As long as you're being smart and safe, just get out there and try it. And once you're out there, you can find out what works for you, what doesn't work. There's plenty of times where I've seen some piece of gear that I thought would be amazing and great and perfect, and I would research it and be like, yep, that's what I want. I'd buy it, get excited, take it out, and the first trip out, I'm like, nope, this is not this is not for me. This backpack doesn't fit my needs or fit what I want, or
Right.
this tent is different than I thought it was going to be. But just trying it and getting it out there is the best thing to just just get out there and don't be afraid to try new things and experience new activities.
Yeah, you're always learning. I noticed that last summer. I feel like I had every single backpacking trip I went on had some sort of lesson that I learned, even though I've been hiking and backpacking for, over 10 years now,
Yeah.
on the regular, and I still learn things every time I go out. So definitely a good tip. I want to share with the listeners, in your email that you wrote me, in your little synopsis, you had a wonderful quote that I would like to read from your Instagram headline. And it says, "More trees than concrete, more quiet than noise, more clarity than fog, more fulfillment, and more stillness. More is what nature gives you."
And that's, I mean, I can't remember where I saw that. But when I read that, I was like, that just kind of, like I was saying earlier, feeling kind of down and alone and unsure of things, getting out into a space where there is kind of less of all of that, less noise, less people, less distractions. You really kind of get that clarity and that enjoyment and just that recharge that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I find that a lot when I go hiking. It just everything kind of just washes away and you can think more clearly, which is
Mhm.
really, it's like a great place to work through things, whether it be like your personal life stuff or even it's helped me like think through like business goals and business ideas, because sometimes when you're in your day-to-day life, the daily grind, it really can get you down and your head is all foggy and such, and then when you get out there on the trail, it everything just kind of melts away.
Yeah, and kind of having that time where, yeah, like you said, in your day to day, you're thinking about things all the time. There's always things coming up, or something's been on your mind for the last couple days, and then you get out there and kind of leave all that behind and stop thinking about it. Is kind of when some of the best ideas and solutions can kind of come to you at that point for those issues and problems you're dealing with.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, me too. This has been great. It's been nice to kind of have a few days to kind of think about what I wanted to share and put my thoughts together. So no, I'm glad you were able to have me on. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, and I will chat with you later.
Yep, thank you. Have a good one.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, if you have an inspirational story about how the outdoors positively impacted your life, please send a short synopsis to hikeoregon@hikeoregon.net and put in the subject line podcast guest. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe and happy trails.